There were interesting polls and surveys that come out, not only how people feel about the war and that 6 out of 10 Americans think Vladimir Putin should go. But back in Russia, poll numbers that show 6, close to 7 out of 10 Russians support Vladimir Putin on this and have rallied around him. But can you trust those numbers when they come out of Russia? This is a Russian poll. Let's get the read from Garry Kasparov, the Human Rights Foundation chairman, the former chess grandmaster. Garry, good to have you. Do you trust those numbers? And could that really be true that 70% of Russians are rallying around Vladimir Putin?
Absolutely not. So what is the poll? So you make a phone call, and you receive a phone call, and you say, okay, I support President Biden, I support whoever, so I'm a Democrat or Republican. Now in Russia, I bet you that 90% of people, when they hear this call and they're being asked about their opinion, they hang up. So they don't want to answer. And the remaining 10%, 80% of them say yes, but we don't know. We don't know for sure how many support Putin, how many oppose the war, because it's dangerous. To say in Russia you oppose the war, you can end up in jail. So that's why I would not pay any attention to numbers that are coming out of totalitarian state.
Well, that's a very good point, because if they are phoning you for opinion, of course, they will then make a record of your opinion. Then what do you think the real sentiment is like? You talk about it being overwhelmingly negative. The Russians are certainly feeling the economic pinch. It's hard to get money out of a bank if your bank is even open. It's hard to go to the grocery store and find anything you want. All these stores and, Western names from McDonald's to Starbucks are going. They got to be pretty ticked off. Who are they ticked off at?
Again, I don't know. I think now most of the country is in some sort of a limbo. It's kind of apathy and shock and anxiety and uncertainty because they still believe that Putin can get out of this mess. Because they still believe that maybe...
Do you think he can get out of this mess? I mean, he seems like a cat with 9 lives here. He's done worse after, other issues like Crimea and then Chechnya, and we can go on and on. What do you think here?
Yes. People in Russia, they don't have access to all the information. They're not watching your show, other shows. So they knew that Putin was in power for 22 years. And it's very difficult to imagine a country with anyone else on top but Putin. And the information on Russian TV about the war is very different from the pictures that's being shown here. So they are not aware about real loss of Russian army there. And maybe somehow Putin can pull a rabbit out of a hat again. So that's why what is very important is for the free world to make it very clear that we are there to make Ukraine win the war. We are there to keep sanctions until Ukrainian territory is cleared from Russian occupation forces, because that's how we can start, splitting Russians and also Russian elite that will understand that it's not just President Biden said Putin was a pariah, but American policy and NATO policy is to make sure that Russia will not be able to return to family of civilized nations with Vladimir Putin as the head of the country.
Do you think those days are numbered? Let's say, regardless of how the war ends, that one way or the other, they're going to turn on him?
Look, there's a number because we're all mortal. So, but question is when he goes and what price we, and especially Ukrainians, will pay for Putin's demise and the collapse of his regime. And as much as General Milley was wrong in the beginning of February, talking about 72 hours and the collapse of the Ukrainian army, he's wrong now, talking about years or even it's decades of the war. It's not Afghanistan, it's not Vietnam. Ukrainian terrain is very different. And Ukrainian army, unlike in Afghanistan, is fighting Russian army, and all they need is advanced weapons to win this war. So a few more months of the war and strong policy of the United States, leadership from the United States, may end up this war in Ukrainian favor, and it will almost automatically, will lead to the collapse of Putin's regime.
All right. Well, watch carefully, Garry Kasparov. Very good seeing you. You've been very blunt, very clear on all of this from the very, very beginning, and you had your doubts long before many others were on to what could go wrong and has.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.